Listen, I know how extreme this sounds, but remember, Trump's the same guy who wanted to shoot protesters in the aftermath of George Floyd's death and talked out of it by AIDS. In other parts of the world, a lawless authoritarian leader can rig a system. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but if we're not careful, really careful, in the next few months, we may be heading down the same road in America.
In 2020, when Donald Trump was in what was then his failed re-election campaign for president against Joe Biden, he in an interview with George Stephanopoulos, he very specifically said the president cannot just send in the National Guard to any state. The governor has to request it, and the president cannot just send them in. And he said, I could, something like, I could call an insurrection, but, that hasn't happened. And so he's on record, of course, saying exactly the opposite.
We have laws. We have to go by the laws. We can't move in the National Guard. I can call insurrection, but there's no reason to ever do that. Even in a Portland case, we can't call in the National Guard unless we're requested by a governor.
I mean, the difference between when he was talking about that then and what he's doing now is that whether or not he remembers what he once knew about how America works, he's decided that he's throwing it all out, dictator from day one, and, gonna terminate parts of the Constitution. And he's decided that he doesn't matter what Congress does and it doesn't matter what the courts do, that he's just the strong man. And he's going to be, in for another term in 2028. I mean, he's decided to throw out all the rules. And it's all because he has no freaking idea how to deal with this politically. And he's absolutely panicking about the, I think, trenchant and joyful and sustainable opposition against him.
We obviously all went January 6th, but you wrote that too. You threaded Trump's memo sending in the National Guard says to the extent that protests or acts of violence directly inhibit the execution of the laws, they constitute a form of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States. You said, which sounds a ton like January 6th, right? Because of course it does.
Yeah. And, and obviously, and then that wasn't any kind of insurrection. I mean, I think that's also one of the things that Trump does is he uses the language that is used against him to define other things. And so now he wants to redefine insurrection so that it's associated with this and not January 6th.
Yeah. I mean, and really? You can't spit on our police officers? Oh, okay, but it's okay to tase them and beat them with, Trump flagpoles and God knows what else.
American flags. Yeah. Beating them with poles with American flags on them.
Yeah. I can't imagine what our friend Harry Dunn is thinking this morning, but maybe we'll see if we can chat with him this week. This acting ICE director demands Americans stop criticizing ICE. And you said, alternatively, we can demand this perverse stay and go himself. Here. I mean, but go ahead.
Don't criticize us. Don't criticize us.
Yeah.
You're making us feel bad when we go out and round up children and zip tie them.
Yeah.
Don't make us feel bad for doing that.
Yeah. I mean, Rudeness, I got to say, your piece was dead on and scary, especially for those of us in the epicenter right now in Los Angeles. You said we're finally on our own, Trump versus America. And you just said we look at the Kent State massacre and think it was a damn nightmare moment in 20th century American history. Trump and his debased ilk look at it and think, too bad the National Guard didn't kill more of those commie hippies. Do-over. That's what they're looking for. Yep. For BLM, George Floyd protests, you name it. He now has nobody that will say, no, sir, you can't shoot protesters, right?
Right. And I'm just thinking about, you must know people who back in the day would have said, the problem is they weren't more violent with protesters. That outside of Chicago, in Chicago in 1968, the police should have beaten them more. There is that kind of conservative from that era, and yes, I'm not just criticizing boomers, since boomers were also the ones who were gunned down at Kent State.
Yeah,
but
he looks at Tiananmen Square and goes, "Oh, F&A, man.
Yeah,
sounds
good.
It's
a great idea."
I mean, look at that. Look at the visuals of these howitzers and tanks rolling into D.C. for his, what is it, Small in the Pants parade? JoJo calls it.
And did you see that one of them had a message written on it that said F Fauci and Gates? Yeah.
Okay.
Gates, Fauci and Gates.
Fauci and Gates. Yep.
God, you know, whenever they bring this stuff up, I just think, what friggin' P words they are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just the lamest friggin' people. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna be mad at the doctor and the philanthropist.
Yeah.
That's who's gonna be
Oh,
the target
Bill
of
Gates.
my
I didn't
ire.
even know who you meant.
Bill Gates.
Oh, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. He's obviously a major threat to the world.
No, Henry Louis Gates. It's Henry Louis Gates because you
Sorry.
know what? I'm tired of him tracing people's genealogy
Yeah.
back
Bastard.
to slave-owning times.
You write, the protesters who blocked ICE officers in Paramount, California, after they had raided the local Home Depot, Dale's Donuts in LA County, and picked up migrants who were not committing any crime other than the misdemeanor of being in a place without the right papers, might be heroic, but to Trump, it's a chance for a redo of the 60s and 70s. Man, this is right on, Rude. You said Trump has a... I can't say that, can I?
No, you cannot.
Okay. For murder, for his whole pathetic, worthless life, valorizing mobsters and lading dictators.
Oh.
Pining for the
But you
chance
can't
to
use the
enact.
proper term?
No.
I used the proper term.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You didn't say BJ. You said the F word. Okay. Listen, let's move on. Pining for a chance to enact the dream of crazed conservatives since Kent State. I mean, that's what this feels like. I mean, it's already dangerous. I mean, you know, Maxine Waters said it. She's like, the point of bringing in the National Guard is just ultimately shoot protesters. They want to send a message, and here we are.
Right. The National Guard, which mostly is trained to help in rescue situations, like during the fires out in LA, and now you're going to bring them in and tell them they need to guard the streets. It's just ridiculous, you know? Yeah. And every time it's done, it either ends up with nothing happening or something bad happening. You know, they brought in the National Guard to help patrol the subways in New York when supposedly crime was going crazy. And it was like, and all they did was stand around.
And is any reporter going to ask a question about January 6th and pardoning all these terrorists, many of whom have been rearrested for other crimes now? I mean,
no,
and you said,
and some of whom are suing the government for
and we're paying restitution to Ashley Babbitt, terrorist Ashley Babbitt's family. I mean, and you said it. You got that. If you slightly inconvenience the mass arrest of peaceful people, it's rebellion. If you say rampage through the Capitol, vandalize the building, attack law enforcement, prevent the constitutionally mandated certification of the electoral votes in a presidential election while threatening to hang the vice president, that's patriotism, mother. And if you say otherwise, I mean that's. I think they love the owning the libs quality of all this because of January 6th.
Oh, absolutely. This is like Christmas to them for that kind of stuff. You know, they get the bonus of they get to round up migrants, and then they get the bonus of making the libs look bad. They think.